This is Talk of the Town, a weekly program featuring community events happening in and around Northeast Michigan. With your host, Bradley Summers. And get the latest from Alpena Community College with ACC President Dr. Don McMaster. And now, today's Talk of the Town.
Good morning and welcome to Talk of the Town. Our first two guests are Matt Pulley and Vicki Denstead with the Alpena Public School System. Hi.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing, Brad?
How are you?
Good. How are both of you doing today?
Outstanding. Thanks for
Busy.
having us. Yeah, it's,
Busy.
Well, I'm sure since it's it's summertime, both of you with the school systems have really nothing going on.
we just sit around and eat bonbons and hang out, and it's a nice time. We chit-chat a bit. Yeah.
You know I joke.
Yeah, it's crazy world
because,
right now.
I know as both administrators of, a lot of different programs that are going on, this is the time you're actually using to build up what's going on and continue it so that when we hit the school year in the fall that we're ready to go. But I know one thing that's going on and something that was announced in the community was 19 years. Vicki, you have been working with the school system in a lot of different capacities, and you're retiring this year.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Well, and some of the things, it was a really nice article that was put out about the time that you've put in and a lot of the, different capacities, obviously, that you've worked in the school, starting with, working in the food program and then building up, the trust and the rapport with the kids and with the school system itself, and then becoming the very first full-time homeless advocate that the school system hired.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. It was very insightful, but really wonderful opportunity to just keep working with kids in the community.
Yeah, and in those years that you've been helping, people find those resources to, find for their insecurity when it comes to homes or food or different resources and collaborations. I know you've put in a lot of time for this, and one of the big things that that I know, and we'll get to Matt with as a grant administrator, but the McKinney-Vento grant or act itself was a big catalyst to bringing some of the resources and working with that. Talk a little bit about what McKinney-Vento is.
Well, McKinney-Vento started back in 1987, and it was the first federal act that protected the educational rights of kids who would fall under a homeless category. And that could be, typically what we always go is, do they lack adequate nighttime residence, consistent nighttime residence and things like that. So it's really about how they survive in the evening time that would qualify them as McKinney-Vento eligible. But it has different faces in our grant itself. Families could be doubled up. Families could be living in homeless shelters. Kids can actually be not living with a custodial parent. Those types of areas are, means of understanding that. And the face of homelessness is so different here. Like even last year, we started out with about 10 to 15 people, separate entities, family entities living in tents. And that is not an adequate nighttime residence. So it's fixed, adequate, and regular is what we really look at. And there's so many different things that qualify families and kids as homeless.
And you said those 10 to 15 kids that are identified through this program, what kind of resources specifically are being offered, or what kind of help is being offered to some of these young people?
Sure. For me, what's really lovely is working with our continuum of care in Alpena. There's like 56 different agencies that all come together to really fight homelessness and hunger. So it's knowing and being, in relationship with all of them, especially, 211, NEMSCA, different housing commissions that are in our community. We have the Housing Commission, we have Stratford, we have a lot of different housing availabilities, and getting them in through those programs are really essential. But it's just knowing how to go to it, where to reach out, and get the help.
Yeah.
Especially some families need to be in a hotel for a couple of nights. So that's where, like, we work with St. Vincent de Paul or Salvation Army and different areas that do provide housing vouchers. So
wow, and that's just, it's an incredible resource. I'm blessed to be able to work with the young people of this community too, but we also have a handful of kids that come in that, the more awareness that's being built about a program like this that's out there for these kids and these families to receive these kind of resources is so important.
Right.
What kind of things are you doing to help build that awareness?
Well, I work with different agencies in the community. We've done presentations for Rotary, different church community groups too, and it's really getting the word out. It's what we do, who we are, where to go to as resource people for kids in the community. There's a lot of people that don't want to reach out for help too. And it's very humbling when they do.
Yeah.
So it's really good to get them connected to the resources that they need.
Now, Matt, with you, your role in this process with providing and helping with this program is the grant administrator. What are some of the things as a grant administrator that you look at to help with making sure that these resources are sustained in this community?
First of all, I do whatever Vicki says, which is priority one. But no, I think part of it, so much of what we do is collaboration. The resources, obviously, there's X amount of resources. There's only so much you can do. And I think the biggest thing with us is making sure we try to service as many kids as we can possibly throughout northeastern Michigan. Vicki has worked wonders to connect with the communities with Hillman, Atlanta, Alcona, the AMA. I mean, those are our partner schools. As we're the fiduciary, we oversee the grant and the resources, then we're able to really kind of reach out to them. And I think she's really good at connecting with them and saying, what specifics do you have? Because again, even one of the things that Vicki mentioned was like sometimes somebody, if there's a fire, they need a night in a hotel, that might not be an option in Atlanta. So what do you do to help get them to what they need? So it's all about that. Then using those resources, figuring out on the administrative side, looking at the different angles and saying, okay, we have these 4 or 5 pots of money. They're different pots of money, but can we use certain resources so they're not overlapping or duplicating, but we can really kind of get in and set those up so we can be as effective as we can.
You know what, I'm amazed in just the short time that we've sat here, is hearing about the collaborations and partnerships and hearing about how your position has brought 59 different organizations together to help with a big issue in our community, and that's incredible. That's just incredible.
And that's comes from having those relationships with the folks that started the continuum of care. So it's pretty cool.
And I know, Matt, you're taking a lot of notes on this.
Absolutely. Every day I come in and wipe a tear thinking she's leaving. But I think that's the biggest piece is it's about what it was, but our numbers, people don't realize is our numbers continue to rise. And again, it's not, when you think of homelessness, a lot of folks have a very kind of stereotypical image that they have. Maybe that's part of it, but most of the time it's not. It's a matter of, like Vicki was saying, where are they sleeping at night? Are they doubled up? Do they have a regular place that they can call home? And then really using those resources to figure out what we can do to take down those barriers. Because remember, the whole thing about McKinney-Vento, it's about taking away those educational barriers that could prevent them from learning. And it could be something as simple as change of clothes. Could be, I don't have toothpaste or toothbrush, all those things that we take for granted just about every day, but for so many folks, those are potential barriers that we try to help them.
Getting a birth certificate for the, early on to Head Start. They have to have a birth certificate. So if they don't have that, we can help with purchasing
and where to go
that.
to be able to do that. She's an ace at that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a crafted skill.
Well, Vicki, I really thank you for the 19 beautiful years that you've put into the school system. And, I wish you well in your retirement.
Thank you.
And please, please, please keep calling Matt with pointers. But
oh, absolutely.
Thank you both so much for being here on the show today.
You.
And if anybody out there is watching that wants to know more information, contact the school system and inquire about the program and about the resources that are available. But
excellent.
Thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Congrats, lady.
Look forward to working with you some more.
Stay tuned after the break for Annie Hepburn from the Alpena Senior Citizens Center. Welcome back, everyone. Our next guest is Annie Hepburn from the Alpena Senior Citizens Center and with Relay for Life. Hi, Annie.
Hi, Brad. How are you today?
Good, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
First off, we want to talk a little bit about what's going on with the Senior Center. I know you have an upcoming health fair that is going on. Talk a little bit about that. Yeah,
so June 26th, it's a Wednesday from 1 until 4:30. We are going to do our first health fair, but we're going to have one in July and August as well. Awesome. We wanted to look at how could we educate the community and also give the vendors the time to educate on their program. So we're looking at a smaller health fair, about 11 to 15 vendors at each one. And then the vendors will have like about 8 minutes to 10 minutes to talk about their program. And then after, the seniors or the community can go around to the vendor tables and ask those specific questions. Because a lot of times when you go to a vendor fair or vendor event, people just walk around and I don't think that they get what they really need to get. And you know, we always say that the more education you get about the resources available, the better off you are. And a lot of times we don't look for those resources until we're in a crisis. And so we at the Senior Center always want people to be educated before that. So that's our mission and our goal, and we're partnering with the hospital to do that as well.
Well, and I know you and BJ are so proactive with the programs that you're offering in this community. What kind of things can someone expect when they show up for the health fair? Like what kind of services or resources will be out there?
So at the first one, we're going to have the hospital. We're going to have hospice from McLaren coming. The Senior Center will be talking more about our Project Fresh. And then we're going to have somebody from potentially Kiff Millers and talking about, because that's a partnership with the Project Fresh coupons, hopefully somebody from the farmers market, and then some other home care agencies and stuff. So there's going to be a little bit of a variety at each one, having different topics. But because myself as the Senior Center and the hospital are partnering, we'll be there at each one having a different topic every time.
Yeah, and it sounds like it goes around a lot of the health implications and how to live a healthier life as you progress in your ages or your age. But this isn't just for seniors. Obviously, you would want a lot of caretakers to be able to take advantage of this too.
Absolutely, and that's why we kind of did it in the afternoon from 1 to 4:30. Hopefully, children that are caring for their family members, their grandparents, their parents. Again, the more education you have, or just know what's available if that comes up. And in the future health fairs in July and August, we're also going to have like the assisted livings coming, a different hospice at each one. Some of the other, like Alcona Health, Thunder Bay Community Health. So each time there's going to be a few different vendors there.
Yeah, and you know, I'm always amazed at, you know, when you're on the show and we talk a lot in the community as well, but you know, how the education of the programs and resources that are available to individuals that are, say, seniors or to the caretakers, you know, how much sometimes they're underutilized in some sense. And you know, it's not always that, oh, now I'm a senior, I can't get around as easy in my house, now I have to go live in a senior assisted living facility. There's resources that are out there that can help provide some of those resources at home, and I know you and your team and staff work so hard to make sure that people know this. And I know that's why these health fairs are coming up, because you want everybody to just know.
Right, because I mean, the goal is to remain in your own home as long as possible, and that's a great goal, but ultimately, sometimes you need care or you need other resources to help you do that a little bit longer, and then there comes a time that you might need something further. So that's where the assisted livings come in. Medilodge will also be there to kind of talk about their long-term care, their dementia units that they have now. It's a new one in Rogers City. So it's good to be, again, educated. Dylan Wallace is going to be at one of them. So we're trying to just pull whatever you might need as a caregiver or the person living with any disease. Some of the support groups will be there, Parkinson's, Friends Together. So we're trying to pull in people at all levels.
Yeah, and you know, I know too, you know, with all those wonderful resources that are out there, when we go and look at the other side, the daily general programming that are happening inside the center itself too, I know Meals on Wheels, you know, I've seen some things that you had posted on your social media page, and you know, all the great conversation that's having out there about the great scope of the program itself, but you've seen record numbers of new clients coming on, 576 half gallons of milk in a month, and you know, 10 paid drivers. How is all that possible?
Well, it's a struggle sometimes because, you know, as we talk about all of our programs, funding is different in the past few years than it was before. We recently had to stop one of our programs, transportation, because of the increase of food costs and the packaging supplies. So ultimately, we serve over 72,000 meals a year with those numbers rising. And the funding isn't changing. In fact, some of the federal government funds are being cut. So we're doing more fundraising. We're looking at other opportunities, different grants, because we have to feed people. We all need to live, and we all need to eat to live. So that is one of our largest programs, and I don't think people realize that. And we do get millage funds, but that is only 37% of our overall budget. So the senior millage does not fully support us, but it supports us a great deal, and we're very appreciative of that.
You know, in a perfect world, seniors and youth would never have to worry about the resources that they need.
Exactly.
You know, and that only strengthens the community in a sense that, you know, when everybody feels supported, then it's just that overarching symbiotic relationship where everybody has the resources that they need. And, you know, and it's such a struggle, I know, in the nonprofit world to try to sustain a lot of the things that we have when we're seeing huge increases in the numbers of people that are taking advantage, or, you know, when you work and you hit the pavement and you're educating and making presentations, and that increases more awareness for your program, so more people are taking advantage, but yet we can't find the funding to make these things happen. And, you know, Meals on Wheels, we've talked about this many times, that it isn't just food. You know, you're doing check-ins, you're doing things to help these individuals and give them, like, someone just to say hello to maybe on a daily basis.
Yeah, we a lot of times are the only person that checks in on them. You know, so we are their contact, and they're very grateful to see us every day. And we're, like, our drivers get that bond with those individuals. Sometimes I'll fill in and they'll be like, when's my driver coming back? Not that they don't appreciate me, but they get that connection. And our drivers, most of our drivers, or I would say all of them, just do it because of the passion.
Yeah. And, well, while we have our last like 30 seconds here, your Relay for Life, and this will be something that we'll continue having conversations with as we move forward, but Relay for Life has a program that's, or the walk that's coming up, correct?
Yeah, so the American Cancer Society has the Relay for Life every year. In Alpena County, it's Northeast Michigan, so any counties around that area can come and be part of this relay. And it's August 3rd at the fairgrounds from 11 in the morning until 11 at night. So back in the day, it was 24 hours. Times have changed, and we know that, but we don't want to lose the mission of the Relay for Life. And why do we need to raise funds for the Cancer Society? For the research, for individuals that can't be treated here because they have a rare diagnosis and they have to go further. And we always, I mean, we have cancer everywhere, and we know that, and everybody's been touched by cancer. So you really need the funds to support the American Cancer Society. Those funds don't stay local, and I know that, but I know many people that attend the relay every year that wouldn't be here today without the research. And we've done articles on those individuals, and it's really heartwarming to hear that, you know, they're a survivor of 17 years or 25 years. And when you hear that or see that, it's just very touching. So with the relay, it will kick off at 11 in the morning here with a survivor's lap, and then towards nighttime we'll do the Luminaria service. And throughout the day there will be people walking and different theme laps, and just a lot of fun. And so I always tell people, if you've never been there, you need to come. It's a beautiful day.
Well, and it just has that mantra of you're part of something bigger than yourself. And that is, you know, it doesn't matter if it's, you know, directly impacting an Alpena resident, or if it's, you know, in some way it will impact that Alpena resident at some point. I mean, these things don't happen, you know, just overnight. Things take time to develop, medications, new processes in science. So, you know, we have to continue to, you know, progress as a human culture. You know, we have to do our due diligence in making sure that we have the funds available to make sure that that research can get done. So
exactly.
So, but thank you again for being here, my friend.
Thank you.
Always love having you on the show, and I can't believe how fast these 2 segments went today. It's crazy. But you have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll talk very soon.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us as we continue to learn about the wonderful world of nonprofits in our local community. Stay tuned after the break for the ACC segment.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Dr. Don McMaster, president of Alpena Community College. I'd like to take our time together today to talk about a couple of things that happened this week at ACC that are significant and positive. Yesterday, Thursday, we partnered with Huron Pines and the Lake Huron Forever Group to do a little tree planting on our property. Lake Huron Forever was involved in a community-wide event to bring awareness to issues that impact the water quality of Lake Huron, a very pertinent and appropriate task that they focus in on. And some of the things that that happened, we met at 9 a.m. at NOAA, and there were a number of folks there, probably 20 or 30 people, local government officials, interested citizens, state representatives from Eagle, Lake Huron Forever people, Alpena Community College folks, and people who are involved in water quality in Alpena. And so there were some presentations about how all these factors fit together. I think a lot of people maybe aren't as aware as they might be about the factors that impact water quality, the water that we pull from Lake Huron, that we drink, that come out of our faucets in the city of Alpena. What factors impact that, the quality of it, and what can we do to improve that? So one of many things that can be done to positively affect that is creating some sort of filtration devices on the land, on the shoreline, in the watershed area. This would be trees primarily, but not exclusively. One of the things that would also help is addressing invasive species and figuring out a way to either eradicate or manage that. And another way is erosion control. So how the college came into this is we love trees. We love to plant trees. Our name is the Lumberjacks. That doesn't mean we just cut trees down and learn how to do that. We also are interested in planting trees and having grounds that reflect some care and awareness, knowledge and concern about tree life. So we have a piece of property that extends between the hospital side of Van Laer Hall, actually the hospital side of the Madeline Briggs University Center, and the back of the hospital parking lot. There's a sidewalk that goes down through that area. It has kind of a declining aspect to it. And there's some property there that has been unused for really forever. And it's a perfect spot to plant trees and create kind of a canopy that has these positive effects on water quality. Of course, there's a waterway that runs right through there, and that leads to Lake Besser, or the Thunder Bay River behind the dam. So this is why tree planting is a virtuous thing, outside of just the aesthetics of having nice trees growing on the property. So community folks came in and they provided the trees. It was containerized stock, manageable by hand, but probably 6 or 7 feet high, maybe an inch of caliper on each tree. They were primarily white oak, which is good because it's sandy soil there. Even though it's low, it's well drained because there's a waterway that's lower between along the edge of the property. And they came in and got them planted and did a great job. And you know, we had a cloud burst about 2 hours later, and they stood up well to that. So we have 10 new trees on ACC property thanks to Huron Pines and Lake Huron Forever. We appreciate that. And somebody asked me during the lunch, you know, what ACC's view on this sort of activity is, and it was a good question. My take was, we try to say yes to any sort of community activity that we think is geared toward the common good. What's good for Alpena, what's good for the community, what's good for will generally be good for the college, and we try and say yes to all of those inquiries. And this was one of those. So we felt good about it, and we feel good about what they're trying to do. We agree with it, and we were glad and proud to be able to take part and have a small role in what they're trying to do in terms of positively and in a long-term way impacting the water quality of this magnificent resource we have right at our doorstep. It is something that we can take for granted, the water quality of Lake Huron itself. We should not do that. And then another thing that happened this week, you've heard me talk about this in previous episodes. We are launching a tree service, which we call a Utility Arborist Certificate Program. It's a 4-credit accredited program. And this will train people to do tree service work. This would be removing dead trees, fallen trees, and doing it in a safe manner. Also, there's certifications as part of it, herbicide application, a CDL is part of it. It's primarily about how to manage trees and work safely around trees. There's many, many jobs in this area. They pay well. It's connected to grid resilience and how to keep trees off power lines. This is a huge issue statewide. So we're hopeful that this program really takes off. And one of the things that we had done to try and help that, this was really led by Kristen Wisniewski, who's a SIP grant director at the college, was to try and locate some grant dollars to help fund a utility bucket truck. There's a lot of tree work. Some involves climbing, some mostly it's in a bucket truck. So she was successful. We found out we had a grant awarded for $100,000 to Michigan Department of Agriculture. So this is great news and great work by Kristen. Thank you folks for watching Talk of the Town. We'll see you again next week.
This has been Talk of the Town with your hosts Bradley Summers and Dr. Don McMaster. For a list of community events taking place in Northeast Michigan, please visit our website at WBKB11.com and click on our community link. This has been a Queen Bee's Knees LLC production, a Morgan Murphy media company. All rights reserved.